Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Dominic with 9to5 Tactical, and today we're going to talk about red dots. But before I start this video, please support us on Patreon, as we're a bunch of brokies, and that's how we keep pushing out free content such as this. Also, I'd like to thank our channel sponsor Aura. Just like we want to protect ourselves, we should be also protecting ourselves digitally. What does Aura offer? There are a lot of leaks out there. People have no idea how to protect themselves. Me too. And this puts themselves at risk to credit fraud and identity theft. Data brokers, such as like Facebook, for example, are also collecting and selling your information. What does Aura do? They offer data monitoring as well as notify you quickly if they detect your personal information has been compromised. And this will essentially help you resolve any potential fraud threats. Plus, their apps can encrypt your Wi-Fi connection, protect your phone and computer from malware. They do offer a 14-day trial, and you can cancel whenever you want, so no overhead or overhang and worry about any fees. So sign up with the link in the description below to keep yourself protected, and also if you want to support the channel. Anyways, back to the red dots, and the ones we have today, new for 2024, is the MPO Pro F as well as the MPO Pro S. Just a quick disclaimer, these were sent out to us by Meprolight. We met them at GunCon 2024 and we looked at their products. We were really interested in their pistol optics. We had the opportunity to speak with Jordan and Eric, and they were a bunch of cool guys, and they were generous enough to give us these two dots, the Pro F and the Pro S, to review. So shout out to Jordan and Eric for hooking us up. So what do we have in front of us? Here I have the Glock 47 with the MPO Pro F mounted on it. I recently picked up the Glock 47 just for myself to train with. Luckily, the opportunity just kind of lined up because I needed a red dot for the Glock 47, but then I also needed a pistol to test the new red dot on. Then for the Pro S, we have the 6P322. This was laying around and it didn't have optic on it yet, so we decided to put the Pro S on it. This actually was mounted on a X macro for a little bit, but then the X macro got shelved, so then we've been running it on the P322. So we'll start with the MPO Pro F first. So kind of what you would expect in the box. It will come with an adapter plate for the RMR footprint, a 2-in-1 screwdriver, it's a T10 type Torx wrench, 6 nylock patch screws, all different sizes for different types of pistols and mounting options, cleaning cloth, CR1632 battery, and your basic user manual. Do a high level summary of the specs. So the price is about the price is about $360 MSRP. Has an RMR footprint, features a shake awake. It does have a width of 0.95 inches and a height of 0.7 inches. The reticle type is a 3-segment. Reticle size is a 3 MOA dot and 33 MOA bullseye and dot. The reticle color does only come in red, so if you prefer green, that really isn't an option. Features 10 brightness settings, 10 day, 2 night vision. Has auto or manual brightness adjustments. Battery type is a CR1632. Estimated battery life of about 20,000 plus hours. 1 MOA adjustments, 30/30 MOA windage and elevation travel. The waterproof rating of IP67. It's fog proof and weighs about 1.8 ounces. I don't even know it's a stand here. It's pretty cool. We got from our High Range 2024 Neo Mag. Pretty nice. Anyways, as for my setup and experience so far, I have it mounted on the Glock 47, of course, and I've only put about 500 rounds through it, and it's held 0 so far. I know it's only 500 rounds, so if anything does happen, I will keep you guys updated. But something I did notice, despite it holding 0, is that the emitter looks like it's scratched or leaking like LCD down a monitor, if you know what that looks like. But that only shows under a certain lighting. And I did try to clean off the lens or glass just to make sure it wasn't anything like refracting or reflecting off of that, and it's still there. But that's only under certain lighting conditions and only on the dot mode. But when I switch between the other reticles of bullseye and the bullseye and dot, it's perfectly fine. Not only do I have that weird scratch look on the emitter when I'm on dot mode, I actually still have the bullseye. It's a very faint bullseye, and this also still applies under certain lighting conditions. If it's a sunny day, you can't see it, or studio lighting that we have here, it's not visible at all. However, on dim or cloudy days, it is there, and it's very apparent. It didn't distract me from shooting as I remained target focused, but for those who prefer a clean dot, it may distract you. I lost my voice there. Another thing I found is that it does require an adapter plate. It is mounted similarly to something like a 509T, just a few proprietary options in between. So if you're running a gun that requires an optic plate all the time, such as the Glock MOS system on this, you will be running a double plate system. So that does leave additional room for failure. You're running 2 plates and the dot will sit extra high. Depending on your manufacturer and how they set up their suppressor height sights, irons are basically unusable as backups. I'm not sure if the Glock 47 suppressor height sights are tall enough, because this is actually really tall, but just a FYI, iron sights will be unusable. Another thing to note, if you are running a gun like the Glock 47 where it has the MOS system and you always had to have an optic plate. So what I have here, I have the RMR plate on the MOS for the MOS system, but then you have the adapter plate to mount the Pro F. So now I have a double plate system, and this does introduce extra chances of failure because of extra plates, extra screws, but you can direct mount this onto a gun that supports the RMR footprint by default. However, despite the double plate system introducing those extra points of failure, it does seem to be rather robust, and I have not lost zero at all, and it did not come loose on the range at any point in time. Now with our traditional pros and cons that we always do on this channel, because nothing's perfect, and if it was, then this would be the only red dot on the market. So let's start off with the first pro, the enclosed emitter. The main selling point of this optic is that it's an enclosed emitter built for duty use. And I do say duty use because Mepro on their website does say MPO Pro F, an incredibly tough and durable enclosed optic system built to meet the rigorous demands of military and law enforcement operations. Fun fact, Meprolight does supply the IDF for their optics, so it is meant for duty. Now, what is the benefit of having an enclosed emitter is, especially for EDC, it doesn't get dirty from all your nasty skin cells falling into the emitter area and, you know, making it dirty. Also, when it's wet and rainy conditions, we actually went to Ohio Range Day 2024, and I was the only person in the group with an open emitter optic, and I couldn't see shit. So at that point, I was like, man, I really wish I ran a closed emitter that day. So closed emitter is great for almost every condition out there. So the next thing I really like is the price. I think the price of this optic is really affordable. I think it's rather affordable at $360. The biggest gripe I hear from new shooters is that, man, I just don't want to spend more money than I really have to. Now I have to buy an optic for my pistol. Little do they know that shooting actually is a terrible but great addiction, and it only gets more expensive from here. Anyways, back on track. I think what you're getting for the price is a lot of tech in one package: closed emitter, auto brightness settings, 3 reticle types, external battery tray. You got a lot of tactile buttons and 0 notches. One of my biggest gripes is that some red dots, especially on the cheaper side, they don't make any notch points on the zeroing. So then you really can't tell how many clicks you need to move it over. So price being, it is very loaded for the value. The next thing I like, it's robust so far. I say so far because I've only put 500 rounds through it, but those 500 rounds have been mostly flawless. Now I haven't drop tested yet because while those are fun to see things break on the internet, I generally think they are over the top, not very realistic. It's not very realistic though that we're going to be dropping a pistol straight on the optic at a whopping 6 feet altitude. But if you want to see it, I guess let us know in the comments. But with about 500 rounds so far, has held 0. Glass and ceiling seems to be holding up. I haven't noticed any fogging or moisture leaking in. The next one is an external battery tray. It pains me to know that optics sold in 2024 without an external battery tray. I'm looking at you, Trigicon, how dare you? This is important because every time you need to change the battery, you don't have to re-zero the dot. If you're someone like me who runs a dot on a rather high setting, and you're not going to meet that expected 20,000 hours of battery life, you'll find yourself replacing the battery more often than not. So if you're someone like me, this just removes the extra chore of having to re-zero your gun every time you change your battery. Of course, now we're on the cons. Not perfect, right? Nothing is, but me. Just kidding. The first con we have is the emitter. While the price is fair and the competition of this dot is clearly the Holosome 509T, if you put them side by side, they look very similar. Even the mounting options are almost the same. It's really quite clear where they cut costs. When selecting the reticle to dot only mode, the bullseye is still slightly visible, which is kind of annoying. It's not distracting for me, but for others who want a really clean sight picture, it may affect them. Still, I like to have all my settings working properly, especially after spending near $360 on a red dot. There are also streaks you can see, kind of like, it looks like a scratch on a Wolverine scratch, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. Or it looks like an LCD screen that's leaking. There are 10 different day and night mode settings, but there's a huge jump between levels 3 and level 4. It just seems that 3 and 4 are really inconsistent. So the last con we have is the mounting options. So if you're running a gun with a similar system such as the Glock MOS, you will be running it double plated. Double plated meaning you have your Glock MOS to seat in RMR, then you put the RMR adapter plate on top. So what does that really do? You have extra points of failure. It requires 4 screws instead of maybe like 2. It also sits really high. And when it sits really high, normally with a red dot, you do still want to keep your irons. Red dots do fail. Nothing's perfect. Irons do fail too. So don't you dare say some heresy saying red dots are crap. But basically, it sits so high that you can't use your irons. And based on the visual look of the irons on the Glock 47, I still think even if you did have suppressor height sights, it still probably would be too high. Hopefully in the future, from Meprolight, they do offer more mounting options. However, if you do have something that does fit an RMR plate directly, I think you still will be able to run a single plate system, reducing the amount of failure. So that's the last con I have for this optic. So overall, what do I think about the Pro F? I think it's a solid choice for the enclosed emitter optic. If they just hammer out their emitter issues, and the red dot would be honestly nearly perfect. I do hope they offer other mounting options. So if you have a MOS system like this, you don't have to run it double plated and have extra points of failure. It hasn't failed on me yet, but having that there still does increase your odds. For the price, $360, I think similar optics around this type of build are like $500 up. So solid choice for not wanting to spend more money than you need to. Now, since we're done talking about the Pro F, onto the Pro S. This red dot is the same as the Pro F, but smaller. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Just kidding. But the specs are similar, other than the dimensions and what comes in the box, as well as the price. So let's talk about what comes in the box. I know I haven't shown you the box twice because we already kind of threw those out. So it has an adapter plate for the RMSC/J-point footprint, 4 nylock patch screws, still uses a CR1632 battery, user manual for basic maintenance and cleaning, as well as a cleaning cloth. So for the unique specs that are different, the price is $279 opposed to $360, of course smaller dot, less material, less price. Everything in the specs are exactly the same as the Pro F except these ones. So it has an RMSC/J-point footprint, lens diameter of 0.78 inches wide and 0.6 inches tall, a weight of 1.4 ounces. The features and ratings otherwise are the same as the Pro F. Now with all that stuff out of the way, as with our experience with this has been rather positive. Now we do only have about 200 rounds or so through this, some of it being 9 and now mostly being 22, but it has held 0 so far. Once again, this optic does have some weird nuances with its emitter. Some of that is the brightness settings, as well as the red dot seems to flicker under recoil, or even the shake from the trigger brake when dry firing. Sometimes the optic would turn off randomly as well. Now I'm not sure if that's something not seated well in the battery tray or something's wrong with the wiring harness. We'll reach out to Meprolight and see what's going on there. We'll keep you guys updated. Now I thought this was good for a while, but it happened again right before we started recording this video. Now the next one is still the same issue that was on the Pro F, is that the optic sits really tall. What does that mean? Is that the base iron sights aren't going to work. We actually fitted the suppressor height sight, so when this thing was on the X macro, it was still too short. So something to note when running this dot, you may not have backup irons to use in the event that this fails. Of course, we can't get through this red dot without doing our pros and cons. Honestly though, for the pros and cons, they are kind of the same. Same likes and dislikes we already have that was on the Pro F model. Has its enclosed emitter, a lot of tech for the price, it's rather robust so far, and has an external battery tray. Of course, the cons are still the same. Cheap emitter and not the best mounting options. Of course, that includes with the iron sights not being able to be used. Now, why would you get this model over the Pro F? Kind of who is it for? If it's the same as the Pro F, why not get the larger optic instead? Oh, not everybody wants to carry a full size everywhere because it's just not as comfortable or flexible. Mepro thought of this and thought, why not make a smaller version of the Pro F? Now introducing the Pro S. Now size isn't important, guys, but some of us prefer having a smaller package to carry, of course. I still think this would be a solid choice for compacts or subcompacts that do support the RMSC or J-point footprint. Now overall, I do think these are some solid choices for optics for your pistols. They just have a few weird kinks that we hope they hammer out in the future, such as those being the emitter, mounting options available, and the power disconnection happening randomly on the Pro S. Now that's only happening on the Pro S, but like I said, maybe in the future they'll address it. Right now, we're not quite sure why that's happening. But that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you found this video very informative, and if you have any questions that we didn't answer, please leave a comment down below and we'll get to those the best we can. But don't forget, please leave a like, share, and subscribe, and get good and stay good with your practicing and dry firing and going out to the range. But lastly, I'd like to say, please support us on Patreon. We need it. We're a bunch of brokies. I said it before in the beginning, but I'll say it again. That's how we keep quality content like this out for free. But that's it, and I will see you in the next one.